Welcome to 2024, everybody. Happy New Year. We're so thankful for all of you joining us again. We were just reminiscing a little before we started and remembering that we started this actually during COVID now 4 years ago. So we're thrilled to be back again this year. SCW is actually hosting the show as we go into 2024. And of course, it's being supported greatly by Rex, Active, and MXM. And so we have, of course, Blair with MXN, Bill with Active, and Sarah with SCW, and myself with Rex. So again, thrilled to have you here for our first show of the year. And first, I just want to kick it off asking my colleagues sort of, what's top of your mind as we enter 2024? Not as a major topic, but what's just like right up there at the top that you either something you think's cool or just something that you think everybody should be aware of. Blair, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So traveling, I was at a couple of EOS fitnesses that had just opened, and at a lot of their locations, people are setting up tripods and streaming on Instagram and whatever. So they didn't like that out on the floor, so they started to build these rooms they call the set, and it's like graffiti art on the walls. It's a real training room, and they say you're free to do it in there, but not out here. And it was an instant hit when they put it in. It's really pretty cool. It doesn't even take up that much space, and it got them lots of social media. Lots of social media out there. Thought that was
Okay, really cool. All right, Sarah, you want to go next?
Well, I'm, as everyone knows, obsessed with group fitness, and
really,
and I think it's so important. And I see it coming back, but it's taken so long, and I get nervous about these certified instructors. It's hard to find them. The older instructors are hanging around, but we need to inspire new ones. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about.
Okay, Bill?
You know what I've been thinking about? One of my topics today is going to be talking about biomarkers and things like that. But is the proliferation of the lab tests, on metabolism, on sleep, on cortisol, on all the different tests that you can get to support your immune system and your health and well-being. And so, they're growing exponentially. And I think that's something we should pay attention to as a service to our members and figure out how we bake that into our whole packages.
Right. Yeah, I think for me, it's this continued shift in awareness about holistic wellness. And I know that's something we kind of talked a little bit about for years, but I mean, I'm really seeing some things out in our industry, and we'll share some of the topics later today that kind of boost the fact that people are really doing stuff around wellness and recovery and sleep and, the whole person, which I think maybe we gave some lip service to as an industry in years past, but it's really coming to fruition now. And that's really great to see. So,
yeah.
All right, well, let's jump in. We're going to continue again, as we have in the past, everyone, with sort of 8 big topics, each of us kind of taking a couple of those as the lead and the others chiming in. So these are the 8 topics we picked to start off the new year. And the first one is Sarah talking about the annual ACSM Fitness Trends, the top trends.
From this is we really lost HIT. HIT went all the way down to the bottom. So I was surprised at that. It went like all the way down to the bottom, like to number 20, which was kind of crazy. We still have fitness programs for older adults. I also saw a new thing. We saw reimbursement for qualified exercise professionals. Yay, that's the Fit bill. That means that we can make sure that our fitness experience by qualified professionals is covered by our insurance. And then I also saw that they address certifications. But one thing we really have to be aware of here, and Carter, I don't know if you can spread it out so that all of us are kind of featured so that I can ask some questions of everyone. But I look at this and I say, you got to look at ACSM, that it is about, it's all about those personal trainers. 23% of them are personal trainers that are ACSM certified. And then you look at the others and you're going to see that most of them are university people. So if you're going to compare and you're going to say, what really are the trends in fitness? If you're talking about trends in fitness for personal trainers, you look at the ACSM guidelines. You look at their survey. If you're talking about what's going on in group exercise and what might be happening in our general independent gyms out there, you got to look at like SCW. And for us, it was functional training, active aging, strength training, exercise science, and you saw nutrition. And we saw those over at ACSM, but wearable, which was number 1, was all the way down to 38 for SCW. And we had over 2,000 respondents, and ACS also had 2,000 respondents. So it's really unique to see how I think there's a divergence and a separation between group exercise and possible personal training and with the ACSM bent. So I was wondering what you guys thought of that.
Well, so one thing on that is it would really help to know how the questions are asked,
Yes.
because that can really influence what shows up as far as wearables showing up top there and way down the list for you, Sarah. I could think of that. I could think of that 2 very different ways with wearables. Does it mean that, more and more people are using them, or the people that are using them are going deeper and using them for more purposes, and the flip side of this to me with the respondents in this is to think about why are they responding with those answers? And it has to do with probably demand that they're seeing. Like, what is the consumer actually wanting from that? That's sort of my put on that.
Yeah, it's difficult when you're looking at a survey also. What is the order they put things in? And you have to make sure with your survey that the order of these 40 trends that you've selected kind of randomly are displayed so that you don't get everybody checking the first couple ones off. And I saw that ACSM operates shuffles, and so does SCW. And I do think from a wearable standpoint, I don't think the group fitness industry has embraced wearables during their programming. And I think that's kind of sad. I'd love to see my heart rate, but it doesn't relate. I'd love to know, does sleep affect my performance in my group fitness program?
Yep. I know we're moving on to the next one. We're moving on to biomarkers. I loved that the work site stuff was number 2 on their list. I think there's huge opportunity for clubs to help go in and manage that stuff.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, Bill, that's a good segue to you. Go to biomarkers and health span.
Yeah, I mean, we've been exposed to certain, components of measurement. What is a biomarker? A biomarker is a measurable substance in an organism, right? It's measuring something in an organism to try and discern some kind of current situation. And what they're looking at now is, how do you look at biomarkers in correlation with or optimal health versus average health? And there's a group called the Buck Institute for Research on Aging, and based in California, and they're getting ready to do a big study on biomarkers because right now there's no standard in the industry. I mean, you have health age, you have bio age, you have real age, you have different tests for sleep and cortisol and metabolism, and you have all these different things, but there's no real standard on what are the exact biomarkers for optimal health. And so we're going to see a lot more data coming into that, and a lot more usable information for clubs to be able to help deliver outcomes and impact the whole person. And so, active wellness is going to be a part of some of these studies with regard to the Buck Institute. If you'd like your club to be involved in maybe some of that, feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat box. But getting some industry data that's scientifically based on health age, real age, bio age, that is substantiated by science. Because right now, every different organization has their own interpretation of what that looks like, especially a lot of the nutraceutical and pharmaceutical or nutraceutical and supplement companies. So I just find it fascinating to look at. And, most of us that go through this test, as fit as we think we might be, not myself included, but we come out a little older than we think we would come out otherwise. So I just find it fascinating. It's something our industry needs to pay attention to, because we've always looked at science to back up the longevity. And this all hits into health span versus lifespan, right?
Yeah.
Lifespan is how long you're going to live. Health span is how long you're going to live well. And so I'm just fascinated by this topic. What do you guys think about this?
Well, I want to jump in first because I was kind of researching this in preparation for our call, and I came across a study that was in research that's being done by a Danish clinic and center, and they're trying to incorporate, Bill, not only the typical assessment criteria around your biology of your body and your genetics, but they're also looking at what are people's income, what's their occupation, what geographic region do they live in, and they're including that in this prediction of a person's longevity to reassess predicting how long someone would live. And I found that really fascinating.
Yeah, I would, going back probably 20 years ago, Tufts University, they came up with a book called BioMarkers. And they worked with just octogenarians, and then they sort of had their hierarchy of biomarkers, being something that you could measure that kind of predicts a decline in your physical performance and your health span, so to speak, although they didn't use that terminology back then. It was interesting that they said the first domino, the first one to go is fast twitch muscle fiber. If fast twitch muscle fiber starts to fall off, you can expect the others to start to, fall in rapid succession. And they were the first ones to really push strength training for, octogenarians. And so that's still a relevant book. And that when I saw the biomarkers topic, Bill, couldn't help but go back to how great that book was and how much it really helped our trainers at the time to really start to prescribe weight training more. And by the way, it was no light weights from the get-go when they were training them. They made them push them for them, what was a real challenge.
Yeah, I mean, there's other things. There was a recent thing on Okinawa and certain areas in Okinawa that have like this, they were calling them golden zones, I think, where certain parts of the world where people, it's not uncommon for people to live to 100. And it goes back to certain nutrients with regard to, yams and different vegetables, as well as water and air quality. And, so there's a lot that goes into this mix. But being able to evaluate yourself as an organism to evaluate where you are with regard to optimal health is pretty fascinating.
And the optimal health was really focused not just on longevity, but also on vitality and having a quality lifestyle. And that's something that I think is very important. So you can live to your 90, but the last 10 years could be miserable.
Yeah, that's the whole concept of health span versus lifespan. I want to live till I drop, right? I want my last year to be as vibrant as the previous 5 versus be chronically in bed and miserable and decline on a trajectory. So I just think that as an industry, we got to pay attention to biomarkers and these things that indicate, bio age, and see that come together based on science. So there's an acceptable metric that makes sense that the scientists agree on.
Yeah, ideally, you die after hitting your drive on the 3rd hole, so your 3 buddies have to drag you around the last 15.
Yeah, perfect. Good analogy there, Blair. All right, next topic is 2024 hiring trends. And this comes from WiseWire, and they list 3 things that they think are big trends going into 2024 around hiring. The first one is custom onboarding plans. And in the article, they just, reinforce how really important that is at all times, but particularly in this sort of era that we're in now where most everyone is still having a lot of difficulty finding the right kind of staff they want for positions from front desk to group X to management positions to general manager positions. I can't even count the number of people that have reached out to me saying they're looking for people and having challenges finding them. So they're just reinforcing the need to really kind of customize the onboarding plan, not put everybody's through, exactly the same thing, although there probably is some, some traditional training that needs to happen no matter what their role is related to HR and payroll and procedures, policies, but then to customize it a little bit too based on the person so that they can really connect with the company culture, with the other team members, with the role and how they're going to fit into the organization. And so that was number one. Number two was boosting employee retention, which just like member retention, which we all know so well, but employer retention is becoming critical in our industry as well, because when people become really hard to find, then you want to hang on to those good ones that you have for as long as you possibly can. And so around engagement, they're saying, learn what motivates your employees, make sure that you're checking in with them on a regular basis. And of course, recognizing them. And a lot of research has come out around recognizing employees. And many of us have got it wrong a little bit in the past. And they differentiate between recognition and appreciation. And recognition is recognizing something that they've done, a performance, a report that they completed, a sales goal that they hit. But appreciation is about the person. And the article encourages everyone to appreciate their employees, not just recognize their employees. And then the third one, trend that they cited was social media recruiting. That one kind of speaks for itself. Social media allows us, to reach audiences that we would never reach before in really creative and unique ways to tell our story online and hopefully attract the top individuals to our organization. So if you're not already immersed in finding new staff through social media, that's another thing they're saying really you need to give some attention to. So, colleagues, any thoughts you have on any of those three major points?
I'll go first. There's some old research. Sorry, Sarah, but I'm still.
It's fine. Go ahead.
There's some old research that 68% of people quit businesses because of staff not appreciating the customer.
Right.
And I would probably argue that number probably holds true for 68% of employees leave companies for the same reason. They don't feel appreciated by their company. And, I'm a big believer, Brent, as you are, and everybody in this panel is, happy employees are what make happy members. And so, but I think these metrics on staff also apply on members also apply to staff and back and forth.
And I agree, Bill. And I also think that we got into bad habits. We got into bad habits with hiring people because we were rushed. We're understaffed. A lot of people quit their jobs, changed their jobs, or we had to let them go because we didn't have the finances to keep them on. So we're rushed to get them custom onboarding, and we're rushed so we don't have the time to recognize and appreciate them. And I think we've got to step back a little bit, look at that this is 2024, take a bit more time and pay a little bit more attention.
I want to jump in here. Karen Reich-Siegel just put in the chat. She's referencing an article that was written by the folks that wrote Prime to Perform, which is an awesome book of Lindsay McGregor and Neil Doshi. And so, and it talks about this. And if some of us have done a lot of customer journey mapping. If you do your employee journey mapping and just start with their first day and say, what does their first day look like? Is it made to feel special? And if you're a large group, how is it different above club than it is for the front desk associate? Like, are they just sort of thrown in, or is there something that we can do in that onboarding that's more than here's where you park, here's where you click on the computer, here's our values? And certainly that stuff's important. Like, what is the institutional logic, vision, mission, values? How does it apply to me? how do I bring that to life in my job? But then when I go in there for my first date, how do we make that a fabulous experience? And I remember when I was at Medallia, we were in Palo Alto, where our headquarters were on Page Mill Road at the time. And we didn't, we had maybe, 150 employees. And if somebody new got hired, one of the things HR always did was they got a great big thing of cookies in a balloon, and that would go sit at their desk to encourage people to come by and introduce themselves to them. And it was a trick that worked. Hard to do in a gym.
Yeah. All right, moving on to state of personal training. And Blair, if you could weigh in on that, that was a report released by Trainerize, if I remember correctly. And they're talking about what's the newest thing and what are some really key points for personal training going into the new year.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of go through their takeaways. They said coming out of 2023, the two big takeaways: online training is here to stay, and clients value community values. By the way, the community piece, you'll see that shows up a lot in the top gyms later on. That's a big part of that. Things that they said coming up here: more free weights, people wanting more free weights, more time for sleep. That more and more people are coming to their trainers and wanting more than just their workout in the gym. It's more about outside the gym and more rest. And oftentimes maybe we're not prepared for that. I don't know enough about that. More data-driven approach as consumers get more and more data as they're using wearables and whatever else technology they're using. They're going to have more information about themselves and and the science behind training, and to utilize that data in helping them. I like the point they made about AI in this, like AI and maybe Chat GPT as part of AI, of course, but how can trainers use it to take over the admin side of their business, to make life spending less time on the scheduling, and there's a lot of admin stuff that AI could take over, so it gives you more time for the human part of it. Pricing switch ups, they called that out as a trend. I'm not, maybe you always had to have your pricing rights. What I did is I sent that article to a friend of mine, Alex Zimmerman. Alex Zimmerman is the one that created the tier. I'm not saying TR, I'm saying tier X with Equinox, and built that into just that tier into a $30 million business with Equinox. And I used to think it was just they had more certifications and they got a little private training room and whatever. No, it is an intense course on behavior change, and only certain trainers make it through the 6-month course on behavior change. And when he read the article, he said, look, whatever the trends are, take anything out there in the fitness industry. And he said he puts it into a 4-part framework for personal trainers working with somebody. There's 4 things: how you collect the information, what information are you collecting, how you collect it, how are you going to interpret that information so that you can then intervene. What is your intervention going to be? And the 4th one is motivation. How do we use it to motivate? He says by far the 4th one's the hardest. And the trainers that really learn sort of the frameworks around behavioral change and self-motivation, that's the ones that create the most loyalty. Those are the ones that make the most money. I'll read one thing that he said at the end of this too. He was talking about perpetuating the notion that fitness is a trend, versus that there are a lot of trends, versus day-to-day discipline that requires planning, stress management, mindset, skill acquisition, and a person, a coach, who can really guide people through the process when they really want to train one day and they don't the next. I think that was just a great wrap up. So I'll turn that over to you guys.
Yeah,
Well, I could be more encouraged by exactly what he said about the behavior change modification. As people have asked my opinion about personal training, how do we get it back? What's the key to prolific personal training? That's something that I've shared for years. And I think people look at you sort of like, oh, I don't know if our trainers are prepared to help people through sort of the behavior change and habit change structure. They're really good at prescribing exercise, but they're not nearly as strong on helping people begin new habits. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for success around that.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about readiness for change and, the stages of change, what is motivation, right? It's the motive to take action. It's their why. why are they going to do what they're going to do, and peeling that onion back and getting to their why, to go back to old Simon Sinek's, golden circle, and, why we do what we do. Motivation is all about finding a person's why. And so, that whole course that Equinox does, Blair, you're right on target. It's not as simple as basic physiology and kinesiology and movement. It's really about being a life coach and really getting into a coaching mindset with somebody.
And
Yeah,
point, if I could say one-
emphasizing the coaching is huge, because 43% of all consumers say that community is a very important part of wellness. And the personal trainers, somebody needs a trainer because they need a community, whether it's just one extra person or it's a small group. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah. Love.
I would throw out a book that I just listened to literally, actually, for the second time, called Atomic Habits. I think all my colleagues have read it, but I listened to it again because it's, in my opinion, one of the best books out about crafting your own habits and changing those and how you can be more successful. So those that are either listening, if you haven't read Atomic Habits and you're in the line of work that, you may want to be trying to help others create their habits or change your own, it's a really great resource.
Yeah. I want to add something to that, Brent, real quick. Talk about social. There's a cohort that really wants personal training for social reasons. And a lot of seniors that want to do training for two reasons: one, social, and also to make sure they're safe in their activity. But there's a lot of personal training and coaching that goes into our industry that has nothing to do with outcomes that we would normally call outcomes from a physiology standpoint. Right. They have to do with mental outcomes, social outcomes, enjoyment outcomes, and so forth. So understanding, again, motivation, Blair, what's their motive? What's their why? Why are they here, and how can we help them?
Yep.
All right. Next, talking about motivation and getting people in the right mindset to be physically active. Sarah was super excited about this ad that came out from Planet Fitness here in the new year. So we've got the video.
Was bleak, toxic instructors, shady scammers, and Bispo bakes. Mother Fitness was angry. Megan the Stallion. Hello, my hot girl. Enough of this toxic nastiness. So she took her hotties to the judgment-free zone. Welcome to Planet Fitness, where everybody can work out in their own way.
Listen to Mother Fitness and join today. Planet Fitness, big fitness energy for all.
Where are my legs?
I love this ad. It's a 30-second ad, and you guys know, if you've been on Talks and Takes, I'm the queen of showing a video. Well, you've got to write a script for a video. You've got to know what you really want to say and how you want to display it physically as well as auditorially, whatever it is. You want to write it properly. So I looked at the transcript and I love it because it talks about the fitness was bleak, toxic instructors. They have this guy screaming at this woman squatting with a kettlebell. Then you look and it says shady scammers. And if there's a focus and it says results not guaranteed. And then it talks about FISBO fakes. And that really inspired me. I was like, what the heck is FISBO fake? So I had to use the Urban Dictionary and look it up. And it talks about Mother Fitness being angry, Megan Thee Stallion. She's a 3-time Grammy winner. She's a rapper. You look at her TikTok, she uses swear words all over the place. But Planet Fitness has
Did you say swear words?
Swear words. But Planet Fitness has harnessed her following. She has 13 million people in her Instagram and another 13 million in her TikTok. She is an amazing leader, and FitSpro Fakes actually talks about all these people that we don't like in the fitness industry that are not certified, that are on Instagram or TikTok and telling you what to do. It's called Fitspiration, FITSPIRATI. It's the people that fake inspiration and really don't show you stuff. And what Megan Thee Stallion does is she takes you through her whole fitness journey. And she's not like got this perfect skinny little body. She's a larger woman. She is strong, and she talks about her failures, and she focuses on wellness, and she focuses on making sure that she promotes a fitness and a healthy lifestyle, eating well, exercising regularly, being committed. And so what she also focuses on how to approach the Fits Pro trend. And these are fitness professional trends. It's like making sure that we're showing different bodies, something that's realistic, making sure we focus on health and wellness, being mindful of mental health, seeking support if we need it, considering following individuals who promote healthy and a balanced approach to fitness, and also making sure that we know that it's a journey. So I love what Planet Fitness did. They focused on a younger market. They're focusing on health and wellness and consecutive workout and all different body types and all different focuses. And okay, I'm out of breath.
Yeah, I think they've been spot on their advertising for a long time, especially coming out of the pandemic. I just think the glow thing they did, I think this is spot on. I think this story here is more about how you should really choose your influencers, because a lot of times people think of a fitness influencer and they look for the exact kind of people that she's making fun of there, right? The Fitspo fakes. Instead, she's the influencer here. She doesn't have to be the fitness professional. I think that's so much smarter to find the influencers that are not the fitness professional, but they're willing to sing your praises and they have a big following. I think.
And she works with this really cool celebrity trainer, Timothy Boutte, and he's amazing. He's very real, he's very authentic.
Did you say Boutte? Like booty?
Yeah, Boutte. I know, you're gonna look him up and start training with him, Bill.
Very well, Mom.
I see it now. And I think another thing that they noticed, I read this in an ad article, Sean Sennigan's our creative director, and he sent me this article on ads. It was fascinating. And it talked about IHRSA, that about 11% of all health club members join in January, with about 80% of them abandoning those aspirations by February. And the focus that Megan has is to get people motivated, keep them motivated. I really like it.
Well, I got 3 points about it. One, I have to admit, I did not know who Megan Thee Stallion was. Never heard of her until this ad. Second, I love their messaging around the points they're trying to make about mental wellness. And as Blair mentioned, their last ad last year about the glow, about their energy. I think that's great. And then third, Planet knows who their target audience is. And I think this ad, including Megan and the whole content and the way it was produced, is targeting the audience that is their primary audience and demographic, which is very smart.
I'll make one point about Brent's points. I knew going into this, there was no chance he knew who Megan Thee Stallion was.
He's a secret rapper. You should check his out.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Blair. We were convinced of that going into this. But it really, one of the takeaways should be for us, what do we do with this information on this show? Do you know your audience? I mean, do you really know your audience? And do you know what turns your audience on and what resonates with your audience? And that ad's not going to resonate with everybody, right? But Planet's really dialed into their audience. And so, the takeaway for us is, how do we go in and really understand our audience? And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that at the last segment of the show with best gyms, what makes a gym a best gym. So, I think the takeaway is really dialing in and knowing your consumer and your target consumer.
Agreed. Well, that's a good segue, Bill, into your topic about being socially active. What exactly does socially active mean?
I have no idea, Brent. But the concept is, I was talking to an Uber driver recently that told me they lost 80 pounds. And I said, how'd you do it? And they said TikTok and walking. And obviously changing their eating. But, sometimes we discount play as a mechanism for activity and exercise. If you wear a heart rate monitor or steps or whatever, the amount of calories you burn doing aggressive housework, cleaning a house, the amount of work you do mowing a lawn, the amount of work or amount of energy expenditure you do dancing on TikTok. It's pretty robust. And so we've talked about mirror in the past. We've talked about tonal. Now we've got TikTok having some stuff that's powered by Peloton. We got Peloton now involved in TikTok. TikTok's got 150 million users in the US alone. And so looking at these things that are socially interactive, Apple, Apple's now got the Apple Vision Pro, where they're taking spatial data, your live spatial data, and incorporating that into spatial computing to a virtual experience that's really more even immersive than the typical VR, right? And so when you look at, artificial intelligence or augmented reality and spatial computing with socially connected fitness, TikTok and all these other mechanisms, you've got a convergence of devices, artificial intelligence and spatial computing and partnership with regard to activity, that makes play and having fun, health outcomes. And so I'm still from the genre, I don't like to work out or train, but I like to play and have fun. And so, when you talk about social fitness or social connection in the fitness market, it's about bringing that immersive, social, fun aspect into health outcomes. And so I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah. I think about, I didn't really, wasn't really dialing into this too much. And then just this morning, I do have a Peloton bike at home and finished a workout, and I'm going to get on the Peloton. I get a text message from our general manager of the gyms, Katie, and she says, "Hey, my brother and I are going to be doing a ride at 8. Join us." Right. And I'm thinking, I had to get on early, so I didn't. But that was the sort of social interaction to be able to get on there, because we've done that before, and then just select them, and you're competing against them on Peloton. I also think like we do the MyZone challenges, and that gets people kind of engaged in a social way on the MyZone app as people are trying to get ahead of each other and win, points to get prizes. I think there's ways that are sort of right out there for us to do right now that are not hard for us to implement.
I agree with that. I agree with that completely. I actually just thought about this morning about the socially active. We've started doing a thing at our Mania conventions, and we are calling and leaving voicemails to all our past attendees, and you would not believe the positive response. So it's not just we send emails, we do social media posting, we send the text messages. Those are fast, those are AI. Everybody knows how to do this now. But those personal phone calls, I am shocked at how well they're working.
Yeah, that's good tip there, Sarah. All right, anything else on this before we go to sort of wellness on Yelp and see what's trending?
Well, I just want to say one last point about it to Blair's point. Gamification. Anything you gamify, you can make more engaging for people that are socially motivated, right? So, I still believe there's a lot of opportunity with fitness challenges in our space, and using virtual tools as well as heart rate or other mechanisms to do challenges, 4-week, 6-week challenges, just to gamify activity. People like beginning and end and closure and project completion kind of projects, so gamifying, fitness and engagement in this social environment can be a really powerful motivation.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Okay. Wellness on Yelp. We've all learned, I think, over the years, how important Yelp reviews are when we're looking to go on vacation, looking for Airbnbs, whatever it is. People are really in tune to Yelp. And so it's a good indicator and has some good data about what's trending. What are people searching for online? And also, what are people talking about online in the reviews that they're posting? And here's some of the data. I'm going to read some of these because I don't have them all memorized. But Number one of the biggest searches online in the health wellness arena was about cold plunges, and that was up 521%. That seems incredible to me. My gym, both of my clubs that I've had the last 30 years had cold plunges, and I had to say, we thought about actually filling them in with concrete when I was there, and now they're back, again. But a lot of clubs are putting those in because they don't have to be necessarily in ground. They're making cold plunge tubs for the home now. So it's a lot more available than it used to be. The clubs that I know that have put cold plunges in are having a great response from their members. So that was up 521%. Here's a few of the other things. Infrared therapy up 40%. IV therapy up 28%. Stretching up 35%. Relaxing yoga up 10%. And of course, pickleball is still on the list. Stretching is still on the list. Free weights and strength training still on the list. But those are some of the things that people are actually searching for online and then commenting about. None of those are really a big surprise, but it really does sort of reinforce this movement toward, recovery. When you hear about cold plunge and all the therapies that people are just trying to figure out, what is that? Should I look into that? What will it do for me? How much does it cost? Where can I get it? Those types of things.
I actually looked up what are the most popular keywords that attract attention. And gym was number one. We always say facility or club, but people look up gym. They look up bodybuilding, gyms near me, exercise, treadmill, ab workout, and weight. So I thought that was interesting. And then I wanted to find out what is the most searched fitness question. And it's, what do I eat before a workout? It's like, okay, whatever. So I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, good.
I don't know how I'd be really interested to know how those searches, if people are searching for cold plunge. I mean, that's an amazing jump, 521%. Next one was infrared, then IV. It'd be interesting to see of the clubs that are offering those things if their reviews are different. If their reviews go up when they start to offer that. I do think, by the way, just as a headline to this part of it, or I think Google reviews for gyms are way more important than Yelp reviews for gyms.
I think that's brilliant, Blair. It's brilliant.
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, if you had one person search for cold plunge and then 5 searched, that would be a 500% increase. So some of it's the amount of people that were searching in the beginning.
Yeah,
And it might be people searching for it, and maybe, I'd love to see the usage. How is are they really being used? But to be honest with you, this is from a business perspective. Who cares if they're really using it, if they're signing up because of it? It'd be really interesting to
I'll
find
tell you
out.
that, Jack Tawney has Harbor Square Athletic Club just opened up his new separate from the club, his new wellness center, and it has the cold plunge and the infrared sauna. And his run up to that, he visited, there's some in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I forget what they're called, but I think there's 3 or 4 of them there. He visited them, and they're just back to back nonstop. Just
Isn't that the Covery? The Covery.
Well, Jack is partnering with the Covery, with DK Naven and the Covery. The ones in Coeur d'Alene weren't. They're something called, like, I don't even remember. I don't even want to pretend I don't remember the name of them. But it is amazing. Like the customers I talk to that have cold plunge and getting time in there is the problem because it's so booked.
Yeah, but what Jack's doing is pretty brilliant. He's got the sauna right across from the cold plunge, and you rent the whole space and have a little area where you do contrast therapy back and forth. And we call our modality in that arena the Restore Lab. I still struggle with the word recovery because for those outside of the industry, there's a connotation of recovering from addiction or some other thing, or versus restoration or rejuvenation. But that's if you're not paying attention and getting involved in that, you're missing a big opportunity.
Yeah, it's coming to you. It's coming to you. Yep.
Okay, let's end our topics, Blair, with best gyms in America. We had a little bit of debate among ourselves after reading this list and talking about how they got on the list and who's not on the list. So this should be a good, lively discussion. Why don't you kick it off?
All right, so we'll put the article in the chat because I'm not going to cover on all the clubs. We're going to go around the room and talk about who we think got snubbed, which is a great thing about these articles. It's not to make fun of the article at all. These articles are sort of a straw man that go out there and they get you to think, and that's what I love about it. It came from Men's Health, and they looked at they evaluated each gym's equipment and training methodologies. As I looked at the gyms they selected, there was unique programming, great equipment and extra spaces like, WeWork type space or just a lot of space to do functional, a lot of turf area. And then it was about the humans. It was about the trainers. It was about the instructors. Those were the three things. I'll read a few names: Fineo Fit in Smyrna, Georgia, Spirit Club, Maryland and Virginia, The Collective out of Austin, Texas, Front Climbing Gym in Salt Lake City. And then they called out Planet Fitness overall. And then they have some, their other five, I won't go over, but the theme here was great programming, great equipment, unique programming, I should say, unique program. Twice they mentioned curved treadmills. So the manual treadmill is definitely from the 1960s is definitely back and better than ever the way Woodway or Technogym make them. So that was sort of it. Now I'll start us off by saying it's hard to talk about best gyms in America for me without acknowledging Midtown Athletic Club in Chicago, or the Bellevue Club in Bellevue, Washington, or Pro Club in Redmond, Washington. So easy to say who got snubbed, much harder. And they took on, by using their staff and some polling, they did a great job in the article. I encourage everybody to look at that and think about what applies to you. All right, who got snubbed?
Well, active wellness wasn't on there.
Yeah.
And that's clearly an oversight because we are some of the best health and wellness centers in the world. And there's two little clubs up in Wenatchee, Washington that didn't make the list.
Well, that's true.
I think, some of these titles, best clubs, best workout, best diet, best, they're just, their opinions, right? But what I liked about it was what did they put in that made it the best club? Like I was at the Collective in Austin recently with my good friend Mike Avera and his team. Didn't go in, but was right outside of it. It's in a really unique area in Austin and nondescript. You would never guess that's, it's almost like a speakeasy type club. But some of these that they've named there are really unique and kind of one-off-ish, and then some like Planet or, brands and so forth. But, looking at what made the list and why whoever wrote this editorialized that these were the best, right? And that programming component and the messaging and branding, most of those on the list have a unique brand where they're viewed as special based on who they are. Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's men's fitness. Okay, men's health. It's men. So what I thought was, oh my gosh, you guys know I love yoga. And I thought yoga was missing. And so I try to think, they kind of focus a little bit more, I think, on chains. So I love this Yoga View Club that's in Wilmette, my hometown. I love O2 Yoga, which is in Aspen, Colorado, with the beautiful mountain view, la 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 di da. But I love Yoga 6. It's a small studio chain. They're all over the world now, but it's unique. Lighting, music, towels. It's cool towels. They have heating. They don't have a locker room. They don't have anything else. It's just yoga, and it's a bunch of chicks in a room sweating. So I feel at home.
All right.
Well, I'm not going to say who's snubbed, Blair, but I would say you'll like this. Just look at the roster of all the health clubs that belong to Rex and go to just about any of them, and they're going to be some of the top clubs in the world.
Totally agree. Yep. Totally agree.
I mentioned active wellness.
Yes, you did.
Oh.
Exactly. Well, we're right up against our 50 minutes. We agreed we'd try and run these shows for 15 minutes as we start the new year, and we're just about a minute or so away from that. So, colleagues, any sort of closing points, anything you want to share with everybody as they kick off the new year, encouragement or otherwise?
I want to thank my team. Carter did an awesome job running this. Thank you, Carter. Really appreciate it. And thank you guys for allowing SCW to bring this to you. So thank you all for joining us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A great job. Great job, SCW. No, just this looks to be a much better year for up in the Pacific Northwest than 2023 was. So far, so good.
Good, Bill.
No, I just think get out there and be socially active. Keep making a difference in people's lives, and thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to bring you content each other month. Now we're going to go every other month, and a little bit new format, and we're very excited. So thank you for tuning in.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for our 4th year, and hope you'll be with us again here in the next, not next month, but as Bill said, every other month. So we'll see you in March.